All right, we are back. I am back. Yesterday was a great live. We talked about kitten heels and my journey with the airline, and really just that push to transition in life and what that means. What that means to transition in life. And I shared on that live how I use the demise from an individual to push me towards a different direction. And how that can be so powerful. When something doesn't work out, how you can use that. What's up, Canceller Cat Mom? Great to see you as always. I'm happy to see you as well. I'm smiling every time I see you. I really, really am. And you missed the live yesterday when I was talking about my kitten heels. Everyone was laughing because I was saying how I was suited and booted with my suit and my kitten heels because I didn't want my heels too high for the interview with the airline when I was hired by the airline a number of years ago. Gosh, it was almost 20 years ago by this point. However, always wonderful to see you, and thank you. Right when you jump into the lives, you always send a message, so I appreciate that and continue to do it. That's why we are the hopefuls, and we are here to inspire, and I'm inspired every time you join and send a message. So today I did one of my favorite activities. I went to the library. Yes, I went to the library. Typically at my home, when I set up and go live, you get to see all the books in my background because I am a voracious reader. You are always welcome and with pleasure. I am a voracious reader. I love to read. I think it's quite sexy. If you see a cute girl like reading a book, especially in the airport, it's a great way to, let me take the gender out of it. Anyone. It's a great way to start a conversation. Like, oh, hey, how's that book? Do you like that book? I've read that book. Is that book trash? Like something about the book. I think books are great ways to start conversation. And I had announced I am an official TED Talker. I'm currently crafting my TED Talk, which I will be delivering on October 7th in Germany. And it is something that I'm quite proud of because it was a, thank you, Diego. It was something I've been working towards. And so I went to the library, which I have always loved, to just pick up some books to read, writing books. What's up, 1%? How you doing? And sharpen some of my skills because, as you know, I love to learn, and I was feeling slightly not anxious. I'm not feeling anxious with my TED Talk because this is, as far as speaking, that's a huge goal and a benchmark and something that I knew I would do. And now that I'm doing it, to grab some books and to read and to formulate the words and sharpen my sword means for me to tune up my skills. So being in the library is a wash with this. I can grab the books and perfect my speech. However, nervousness and excitement are actually the same thing in our brains. When we say the word, I am nervous, our brain categorizes what nervous is and brings to attention everything within us that would make us nervous. If I say I'm excited, my brain will grab anything that would be significant to being excited. Thank you for liking. Please continue to like and share the live. Let's get up to, let's try a small goal like 5,000. 5 is one of my favorite numbers, 5 and 45. So I went to the library and I had no idea. For all the book readers, you can. Well, you can't, but I'll tell you the story. you can use your library card and rent books, borrow books from any library in the nation. So if you're in the US, you can use your California library card in New York State, or your Illinois library card in the state of Louisiana, or your Florida library card in the state of Nevada. That's what I was told, but it was a lie. Yeah. So I walked into the library just filled with energy, like, this is amazing. I can rent a book from all 50 states with this one library card. And so I marched up, I grabbed some books, some writing books, and a quote book. I will grab these books because I love quotes, and I'm always reading quotes and memorizing quotes. I like to give quotes while I'm speaking. And I marched up to where you check the books out, and I said, may I ask you, is it true that I can use my library card to borrow books from any state? And she was like, no. Thank you. I miss you too, man. I miss you too. I'm currently in Texas, but this is my family too. Right here, this is my family checking in on me, and I love them. My Ipu circle, that's what's up. And the Ipu is a hollowed out dried gourd that is used with Polynesian dancing. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I miss you too. I really do. And I miss the roosters. I miss the roosters, waking up to the roosters in Hawaii. However, I can kind of still hear them. So the person at the library was like, no, that's not true. You can't just borrow a book if you have a California library card or a Hawaiian library card, or you can't. And I was like, well, then I was given the wrong information. She said you were. However, there is a system where you can borrow ebooks from any library within the nation. However, after COVID, we extended that to the physical copies. So you can receive a digital library card from any library in any state and borrow books. And I was like, then that's amazing. Isn't that the same thing? So, yes, I wasn't told the complete truth, but I was still able to find a solution, which is the point, to always find a solution. And that's what I did. So I did get some books, even though when I pulled out my library card, they were like, girl, you can't do that. Come on, come on. Whoever told you that, they were lying. And you can't do that. We would have to call, it was my California library card. We would have to call California and I would say I love you too. I love you too. Why not? I love you too. So I do have some books, and I'm reading them voraciously because, as I said, I wasn't nervous. I wasn't anxious. I believe I'm very excited about this TED Talk. And I am 2 months out from delivering. Thank you, Techno Pirate. Hey, when do I not? I'm always trying to look my most spectacular. It's just a stage that I have visualized. So there is that element, and Beyonce speaks about being a perfectionist. I seek for my words to deliver the message that I feel. That I feel. Because for me, it's a feeling. And you know, when I'm speaking now, you feel something. You can feel this energy. You can feel the glow on my skin. You can feel the just something. And I always say how I love that. I can always identify with what's for me by how I feel. So for my TED Talk, it is about really illuminating that feeling. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. That's what I'm about. You know, that's what I am about, my positive power or just feeling something. There's a lot of people, you don't feel nothing. You just feel like walking away. Okay? A lot of people start talking and I feel like walking away because there's a quote that says, what is this quote? That our power has been beaten out of us during the course of life. Sometimes it's the demise of a relationship. Sometimes it's the demise of a dream. Sometimes it's the demise of school or an occupation or something that you had such huge hopes about and it did not work out as you saw it. And how often we carry that and we allow that to be our story. Nah, I don't want that. I want you to feel something when I speak. There is a energy signature. Les Brown speaks about this. When you speak, and that is something that you can't fake. You can't fake it. When I spoke yesterday about my transition, because my speech is about the time I was a flight attendant for 15 years and I took the transition. I took the transition of an emergency landing because our left engine went out as the basis of hope there's more in you. Of course, I've loved flying. I'll say it again, with all the countries I've seen and lived in and every culture and gender and language that I've interacted with for 15 years. I love it. It's a part of me. It's always going to be my story. And I can choose to build another dream. And I speak about that often because often we feel so afraid to make a move. We feel so afraid to be seen. We feel so afraid to be seen trying to accomplish something that we've always wanted. And I got to a point where I said, if I almost went down in a fiery blaze on this plane, that's how quickly it goes. I want to be able to say every day that I am walking towards what I want. Thank you, 409 for Maverick. Never. I don't even really drink caffeine. Why would you? See, that's your assumption. And that's how I can tell your lack of intelligence. This is just my power. It may be the 5 miles I ran this morning, or it may be the laps in the pool that I swam after I ran the miles. But this power, baby, this ain't from caffeine. This is me. Okay? I think you need to find someone that has this much power, and then you'll recognize when power is within and when it's from a drink. I'm always doing beautiful. Thank you, thank you, thank you, Cassius Love. So, it was in that moment and the course of days, because I've spoken about this and I'll share with you. I had a serious bout of post-traumatic stress disorder. If you have ever been on a plane that's had to make an emergency landing, it is somewhat uncomfortable. But when you are the person who's tasked with, yeah, exactly, go find Les, because it ain't here. It ain't here. Please. That is when I realized, and thank you, Counselor Cat Mom. I love that. And I love being over the top and too much. I am. I change my outfit like 3 times a day for myself. So there. The ability to say this thing called life is my experience. But am I allowing my experience to be as expanded, as great, as spectacular as I see? Or am I just saying, nah, I don't want to do that. Nah, this is okay. No, this car is okay. No, this apartment, it's okay. This job, I mean, I've been here 10, 15, 20 years, and that means I have to try something else, and something may be unfamiliar, so I'll stay here. This relationship, it kind of works. I don't really like them, but no, why? For me, that's limiting my experience. And that was reinforced the moment I almost went down in a fiery place. Now I didn't, because I'm here talking to you. However, just to be reminded that this really is your experience to write. And I sat in my hotel room. I remember sitting in the hotel room saying, why am I playing so small? I know there's more in me. Why am I determined to not go after what I believe I can do? What I know I can do? What would fulfill me? What would inspire me? And if it inspires me, it will inspire others. Listen, people can see when you are inspired, when you love something, when you're putting everything into it. Because we definitely know those that don't. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Cash, listen, sexy, smart, intelligent, and I can read, man, that's a triple threat to be afraid of, okay? People can feel it. And at times when I'm walking, I have people jump and they're like, well, hi, Mag, good to see you, good to see you. People jump and they say, well, you scared me. And I haven't even said anything. But when I walk with that power. And I've had a few of these instances, and often near-death instances will bring a new vibrancy to life. And I am determined to reinforce that with, if I'm living, I'm fully living. And I remember taking out a piece of paper and saying, am I living where I want to live? No, I'm not. I'm living conveniently next to the airport where I was flying out of. It's not where I wanted to live. Now, it was a beautiful, brand new build apartment with floor to ceiling windows and elevator and gym and all of that. But it's not where I wanted to live. It wasn't the location. It was purely out of convenience. And I knew it. I knew it. I knew it. That will eat at you. Am I even driving the car I want to drive? Well, I wasn't driving because I was in the New York metro area. So I hadn't driven my entire course of being with the airlines because I was based in DC. I didn't drive in DC because I lived in the district. I was based in London. You don't drive if you live in the city of London. When I lived in Paris, I'm not going to drive in Paris. You have the metro and you can walk. These are walkable cities. When I came back and I was in New York, I wasn't driving. But when I said, why am I living here? Oh, I'm just living here out of convenience. That's done. That's done. I have another day to live. I have another day to live. After receiving a phone call from the captain saying, Hope, the left engine is setting off our checklist. We will have to make an emergency landing. We will update you as soon as we know. Click. Click. It changed my life forever. And I take these moments as inspirational transitional points. Because I look at that moment and I say, there's a reason why I was the head flight attendant. I was the lead flight attendant. I am a leader. You don't want someone who doesn't want to lead in a situation like that. And I remember going and writing down exactly, listen, if this thing called life is my experience, I'm going to challenge myself to create the fullest expression of me, no matter what it takes. No matter what it takes. And a lot of people say that they are living and they're not, and they know they're not, and you know you're not. You know you're not. You walk differently. You talk differently. So when I wrote down, where do I want to live? I got specific. I was living in Jersey at the time. And I had already lived in these cities I dreamed about. I lived in London. I lived in Paris. New York hasn't always been my favorite place. My sister lived there and I lived there. DC was always something that I wanted to experience, but I am a hot weather person, okay? I like to wear as little clothing as possible in a beautiful, graceful way. Although if I'm in a bikini or a swimsuit, as I told my mom, what's up, T2 Cents? I haven't seen you in a minute. How you doing? As I tell my mom, when I put on my bikini, I am showing what you gave me. And she says, girl, I only gave you my best. So I'm doing the family justice, okay? I love the sun. I do. So when I said, okay, I want to be somewhere warm. Where do I want to be? I want to live by a beach. Okay, do you want to live on the coast of England? Do you want to live in New Hampshire? Do you want to live in Florida? Do you want to live in Hawaii? Do you want to live in Colombia? Do you want to live in Brazil? Where do you want to go? You're a flight attendant. You can live anywhere. Where do you want to go? Where do you want to go? What do you want to feel? How do you want to feel in every day that you wake up? And I got specific. Because I'm from Central California, where it is 110 degrees, 114 degrees with 10% humidity. It's pure heat. No, I love the sun, not that hot, okay? Because for me, I also love being outside. So when I'm saying dream up this life, get as specific. What's up, York? How are you? Top of the day to me. Thank you. Get as specific as you can. I like to be outside. I'm an avid, active person. I won't even say athlete. I like to be active. I do my sexy walks. I talk about my sexy walks. I love to be on my bike. I love to rollerblade. I love to hike. I like to be outside. But check this out. If it's 110 outside, you really can't garden, okay? You may pass out. So I had to say, what is the exact temperature I want to feel? What do I want to feel? You grew up in these elevated temperatures. I've also lived half of my adult life in these places with real autumns and winters. A New York winter, London, it's always cold, and I love London. I do. But after living in London, I have always said, I don't ever have to be in rain again. I committed 7 years to London. 7 years. And there were weeks, months where you do not see the sun. Okay? It's just gray and misty and windy and bitterly cold, and the cold hits you, and it's like a humid cold, which I had not experienced. A New York cold is different from a London cold. It's wet and terrible. It's wet and terrible. That's why you stay inside and drink tea. Alas, I know that type of weather isn't the prime temperature for me. So I had actually made a list, because with my airline, we had international bases, and several flight attendants commute, which means they could be based out of LA, but they live in Denver. So they fly into LA when they need to work their trips. They work their trip and then they fly back to Denver. Flight attendants have lived all around the world, and they'll just fly in to work their trips. So it was never a thing about a restriction of where I wanted to live. In fact, on my list of places where I said, where do I want to live? Okay, an island, I want something new. And I always wanted to be in Tokyo. It was actually on my transfer list when I started with the airline. So I put Tokyo on my top 3. I also put Bogota, Colombia, because I love Colombia. I had worked there several times as a flight attendant, and one of my best friends is Colombian, and then I would be able to perfect my Spanish with the perfect grammar that Colombians speak with. It's almost melodic. Yeah, that person is no longer there. Mag, thanks. And you can take care of that too. I trust you. So, Tokyo, Bogota. Also, Bogota has exceptional healthcare, an exceptional education system, and there's things about the culture that I would have to adapt to, and I love to see how I grow and learn in these spaces. And then finally, Hawaii. I've always loved Hawaii, and I always said I wanted to live in a touristy island location. And it hit my sweet spot of 82 to 88 degrees with a breeze. I don't want to ever be in 100 plus temperatures. It's just not comfortable. However, I do love the high 80s with a breeze and full sunshine and a beautiful beach and the ability to pick my vegetables and the ability to smell fresh air, because after living in London and New York, I wanted to smell plumeria flowers instead of piss. I'm also a humanitarian, and seeing humans in certain aspects of life at times affects me. I will start something that aids with the epidemic of people without homes. Because especially in a country as wealthy as the U.S., that to me should not be. However, I digress. So those were on my list, but I went even deeper. I said, well, what do I want to feel? I want to feel the sun on my skin. So I envisioned myself getting up and walking outside. Yeah, Vegas, my grandmother had built a home in Summerlin. So I spent a lot of time in Vegas as a child visiting my grandmother. And then I also, when I was finger snapping, that's what all the old folks in my family say. So I use a lot of these words. I would go with my friends. We would take a flight or drive to Vegas. So I was in the streets of Vegas all the time. I actually retired Vegas at 23. Like it's not really for me. I don't smoke. I no longer drink, and it just doesn't bring any aspects of me that are beneficial. So I understand everyone finds things that they love. However, I don't even go out at night anymore because I've spent a lot of time out. Okay? A lot of time out. So yes, I understand that about Vegas, but I've spent summers there. It's too hot. Okay? If I'm going to fry, I'm not going to be there. No. I'd rather have a cute little saute, oil up my skin, and just sit in the sun. But I am not going to be in Vegas. Hot. All you can do is sit in the house till it cools down. It's ridiculous, and I feel lethargic. And when I would travel, especially my first years of being a flight attendant, I was based in Washington, D.C., and we had 4-day, 7-day, and 9-day Kuwait City trips. And I loved Kuwait. I loved Kuwait City. It was so foreign and different from anything that I had experienced. However, the service and the fruits and the vegetables and the food and the ocean and the souks where you can go and buy tea and textiles and gold, I loved it. However, it is hot, and experiencing that and the sandstorms and no one comes out until the sun comes down. That ain't for me. I love the sun. I love the moon too. They're equal. However, experiencing all these things allowed me to know exactly what I want. What I want. What Hope wants. Not what somebody told me that I may like. What somebody told me I should do. What somebody told me that they think would be best for me. No. This was all gathering information. And as I reflect back now, that's all I've been doing. And often in life, that's what we are doing. We're just collecting information, whether it's dating. You're collecting information. What do I want in my relationship? What do I want out of a person? How can I be in partnership with someone? What will I not tolerate? What makes me the most happy? How do I feel safe in partnership with someone? I ask myself this because how are you going to find out if you don't ask yourself? I was lucky enough to see a great partnership with my parents, and they would speak to each other. And I didn't see people with frying pans going upside each other's heads. I saw individuals who would speak. And if I did something, which I did, I was quite a rambunctious child, I would get talked to. So I would understand. And I would ask questions, and my parents would ask me questions. Yes, that's why I'm a storyteller. This is how I found out, oh, this is for me. This is for me to take the chance to make this my life's work. York. And so with all of these places, and imagine since I was 22, every week, twice a week, I was in a different state, city, country. And then when I wasn't flying, if you called me, I was there. I was just figuring out, where do I want to be? Where do I want to be? And so when friends would say, oh, I'm moving here because it's not expensive, sure, that is beneficial for you. However, if I like it, it's the right price. And that's how I'm dedicated myself to living. Because if I choose to only do things for the cost, that translates for everything. For everything. When I wrote that list of where do I want to live? What's the car I want to drive? What do I want to feel? What do I feel is my gift that I can put back into the universe? I had to ask myself these questions, and I had to get clear. I had to get clear. If this thing could end at any moment, I'm only going to spend it doing exactly what I want. I'm not going to be doing it because it's cheap to live here. So I don't care about that. I'll find a way. And I always say the lack of money enables creativity. Just be creative. I'm never going to limit myself because the lack of money. You can have it. Maybe you just need to wait longer or have more of it or get creative, but get what you want. I'm not telling myself no. I refuse to tell myself no. And when I said, I've always wanted to speak. It's in me. I'm a talker. I will talk your head off. If you sit and talk to me, well, first of all, you're going to be entertained. But I enjoy it. I enjoy words. I enjoy the cadence of language. And I'm multilingual, and I listen to the melodic character of every language. If I'm listening to Arabic, there's a different melody than when I am speaking French. There's a different melody. If I'm in a country that speaks Portuguese, the melody is different than a country that speaks Spanish. If I'm listening to Greek, that's a completely different melody than if I'm speaking or listening to someone who speaks Dutch. And the beauty of that. And I dove into it. On every layover, I wouldn't even have headphones. My soundtrack is everything that's around me. Everything that's around me. And I loved it. I still love it. I go out, listen, when I went to the library today, I collected some books, and then I said, let me go get some notepads. Because I take notes. When I read a book, I take notes like I'm in school. And I will note certain things and come back to it and see how I can implement it when I'm speaking. Or I'll even look it up in a thesaurus to see what other words have this similar meaning. So I went into Office Depot, and as I was walking in, I saw someone's debit card on the ground. And I was about to walk past, and something in me said, Hope, pick it up. Pick it up. I'm like, oh, geez. Okay. So I picked it up, and it was still valid. And it wasn't that hot. So it must have just happened. And I looked, and it was a credit union. So I went on my phone, and I saw where the credit union was, because there was no other way for me to get this card back to the person that lost it. I couldn't, their number, people don't put their phone numbers on their debit card. So I Googled the credit union, and I drove to the credit union. And as I walked in, I'm currently in Texas, and the gentleman says, how are you, ma'am? I said, I'm exceptional. I would love if you can help me. I found this at the entrance of the Office Depot, and there was no other way for me to get this card back to the person. Now, they might have canceled it. I don't know, but this is my due diligence. So are you able to contact them? He said, sure. Yeah, actually, it's very kind of you. I said, great. And I've done this before, and I've actually had someone do it for me. So it's a bit of that cycle of putting it out there and calling it back in. I also saw it as a symbol of money. Like, oh, there's just money in front of me. I wasn't going to use it. But imagine that. If you're just, your head is spinning because you can't find your debit card, and you get a call. You get a call from your bank or your credit union that your card is there waiting because some random person dropped it off. That changes the trajectory of your day. It really at times can change how you feel about humanity because someone actually took their time out to make sure you get that back. To make sure you get that back. And even that may turn into some sort of speech, but it's that element of we are all each other's keeper, to me. And for the 60 plus countries that I have traveled, I just see humans as humans. Every country I've gone to, I've seen the same thing. People working to support their families. Individuals wanting a safe home for their family. Individuals wanting some sort of education for their children. Of course, the tones and textures of the skins were different. The cadence and the language was different, but that was all the same. I've seen the same smiles on a mother's face when her kid runs into her arms. It's the same feeling to me. I will always say this is my truth. It's not the truth, it's a truth. It's my truth. But to be the change I want to see. I am not ever going to say this is what people should do. I don't know what people should do. People do what's best for them. People do what's best for them in that moment, and people often do what has been taught or what they've witnessed. So my goal is to continue to live as authentically as possible. Because then maybe, I don't know, maybe someone will see that and say, hey, that really influenced, I'm going to try that. That's it. I am the change I want to see. I am the change I want to see. So back to me writing exactly where I want to be. I'd always loved Hawaii. I had flown it several times, and one of my favorite vacations with my family was to Maui. And I traveled a lot as a child. My father loves the outdoors and he loves to fish. So we would go hiking into every national park in the nation, whether it was the Grand Canyon or the Grand Tetons or Yosemite, you name it, I'd been there. I'd been to almost every state by the time I was 12 or 14. So being outside is my happiest space. And yes, I had lived in these world-class cities. When you hear, wow, living in London, yes, it's amazing. However, you don't really move to London to be in the outdoors. You don't really move to Paris to be in the outdoors. You definitely don't move to New York to be in the outdoors. And these places have their own historical elements and they are lovely. But they weren't it. And I remember feeling like London is it. This is it for me. No, it taught me what it needed to teach me. And then I say, where's next? Paris is the same thing. And with London and Paris and especially New York, these cities, the beauty of these cities is that city element, and a lot of that element is inside. It's the museums, it's the restaurants, it's the art galleries, it's the performance. Miami, love. Miami's sexy. Miami is very sexy. Love. But I do like to be outside. So when I was thinking about these things, Hawaii kind of checked all the boxes. I could easily be outside. I've lived in cities that have 5 to 10 million people. I'm okay with living in a space that's smaller. In fact, that was new for me. And the beauty of a city is you get lost because there's millions of people. And the beauty of a smaller place is I actually take a bit more care. Because think about it. If you're dating in a city like London or Paris or New York, there's a good chance you won't see these people again. You probably will, but it may take a while. If you're in a place with a smaller population, 100,000, 200,000, I had to take much more effort. Even at the places that I would be at, because it is a smaller place. And I saw that as a challenge that I was ready to evoke. I also love the history of the native Hawaiian people. I love the culture. I love the foods. I love how women are really the backbone of the culture. And Polynesian culture, I learned so much. That's another thing. Wherever I move to, I want to learn about who was there before me. To me, it's part of my due diligence. And just seeing that water, and I would go and do beach cleanups, and the people I would talk to on the beach, and I would learn about other things. And then I started doing Native Hawaiian canoeing and meeting the elders that canoed. Thank you, Leon. And all of the commands with the paddling is done in Hawaiian. So now I have to learn that. It's all of these facets of me that I have to renew. There's something I have to learn. There's a discomfort in that. And I love that. I love that. There's a regalness that's bred. Because when someone saw me like, you're coming to canoe? Yeah, of course. Why not? There's something for me to learn. And your arms get swole. I loved it. And hiking the mountain trails and seeing the mist upon the greenery and learning about the native species of plants and the fruits. And it's like moving into a new library. Because I allow myself to be malleable. There's always something for you to learn, oftentimes in your own surrounding. And I learned this just from flying. There was a time where I didn't speak as much because to me, I've been so expanded from all of these countries and places. I felt like I could not relate to some of my friends or just people I would meet just because they hadn't seen what I seen. But that has nothing to do with them, Hope. So what? The beauty of that is I found I meet people at where they're at. I'm not going to expect someone to know the culture of Portugal. They've never been there. So for me to say, why don't you know that, Hope? That's for you to have compassion and to learn that my experience isn't everyone's experience. And that's okay. These are all the things I've learned in that space of discomfort. I remember when I first moved to London, I sound like I'm American. So when I would go to the shop right across from me, which was like a grocery store, the shopkeeper would say, "Are you American?" I'm like, "Yes, I am." "Oh, are you here on holiday?" "Yes, I'm here on holiday." "Oh, no," I would say, "No, I'm not here on holiday. I live here and work here." "What? You live and work here? Why?" I'm like, oh, jeez. Because every day, this was my life for 7 years. And it came to a point of discomfort of, geez, here's another space where I don't fit in. And here's another space where immediately when I start speaking, I stand out. And that's a part of it. That's a part of it. And I had to journal and say, Hope, that's okay. I learned to sometimes change my manner of speaking. However, I just got used to it. It's somewhat of a blessing. I am. Yes, I am. I'm always writing, and you will see more of that soon. So in London, I was in London from, thank you, Hara. Is it Hara? Did I say that correctly? In London, I was there for all of my 20s. So I was there from ages 24 to 30. So for me, it was those pivotal years. I was completely out of the US. So at times when I would come back and speak to friends or family members, I felt like a fish out of water. I felt so disconnected. And this was a part of me saying, Hope, listen, all of this is okay. This is your experience. Thank you. I find it important to pronounce someone's name correctly. That's okay if you feel uncomfortable. You will feel uncomfortable. You haven't lived in the place that you were born and raised. Of course you're going to change. Everything that I'm listening to and around is not familiar to those that were in my hometown. So what? So what? And you'll hear me say this often because really, so what? So what? Adjust, grow, get used to it. It's a blessing. It's a blessing to say that I was able to live outside my home country. That's not an experience shared by many. However, it's something that I knew I wanted because not only does it bring an edge, it just brings more perspective. In reality, it brings more compassion. It brings more compassion. And so as I am speaking about this list that I made when I had the emergency landing, when thank you, what's up, Amanda, what's up? Oh, I have a funny story about New Orleans too. It meant that much to me. It meant that much to me to say, you know what, you almost went down in a fiery blaze. If this plane would have went up in a fiery blaze, why are you so fearful? And I remember saying, I am fearful. I'm not fearful of the transition of life. I am not. Oh, I have a whole chapter about Atlanta because in my early 20s, like 1920, I would go to Atlanta a lot with friends of mine and party with music people. I don't know. I was in the streets. It was a great time. Very, very good time. Some of them I can share, some of them I can't. Thank you. Yeah, and you know what? You still can. Here's the thing. If you are breathing, living, you still can. Maybe it's traveling through the words and the stories I share, but you still can. It may just be one trip every 10 years, 5 years. Gift yourself that. I don't know how. That's for you. And I understand that. I understand that want to travel. And turn it into, I did it. Even if it's a neighboring city. Even it, and is that slipped and fell and got pregnant? Because I have a story about that. A lot of this is because I always knew, yeah, and fully immerse, not just be the outside observer. I would immerse myself. That discomfort of being the only one. And that's how like I perfected my French. I felt really uncomfortable. I had a partner and his native language was French and Creole. And so when we would go out, either in Paris or, yes, yeah, that's another way. I love making, side note, I love making my own hot drinks. I love it. It is my meditative practice. I don't drink coffee. I love tea. And so it's a meditative process for me to get the filtered water, for me to heat it to a certain temperature. And Americans don't know how to do tea well, so I always make my own cup of tea. And sit and consciously drink my tea, not looking at my phone, not even listening to music, not watching TV. I've shared I haven't had a television since I've moved out of my parents' house. Yes, I love a green tea. I love a white tea. I'll make my own teas. I'll go and grab the leaves off the trees that are around where I live and make my own. And what that means for me. And even if it's a money-saving technique, there's that too. However, I'm very aware of that. I have books and I'm somewhat of a plant goddess, but if it is, I'll find out. There's that too. I'll find out. I'll find out because my stomach will be hurting. Either way, I will still find out. And my mom always says that, be careful. I don't even know what that means. I just go. So thank you, Amanda. So with all of this, including the lists that I wrote, where do I want to be? What do I want to feel? Where do I want to live? What car do I want to drive? All of this, not what car can I afford? What car do other people think I should have? What car would maybe... No. If this is for me, if this experience is mine, then I'm going to create it for me. For me. And exclusively for me. And I challenge you to do the same. I challenge you to do the same. Just a minute. Let me pause this quite quickly. Okay, good. I'm doing absolutely spectacular. Alfred. So, with the list, let me get back to this list that I made because, I go all around and I'll bring it back full circle. I had also wanted to feel just light and free. And there's a difference. What's up? Okay, what's going on with your internet, Counselor Cat Mom? My mom's experiencing the same thing, so I hope you find the solution for that. There was a difference I felt when I lived outside the country. And I feel that. Now I feel it. That's okay. As long as it works, you're still here. I carry that with me everywhere now. Now I'm just free and light and I just float. However, there is a similarity to that feeling that I feel when I'm in Hawaii. And I spoke about Maui being my favorite vacation as a child. When I was 13 or 14, us as a family with four of my four sisters, there's a total of 5 of us, my parents, went to Hawaii for 2 weeks, Christmas, and it was magical. And I never forgot it. So yes, London and Paris and New York, I've done those. I've checked them off. These world-class cities. I'm ready to be in Hawaii. And I remember saying, whew, I am a stylish woman. I love my clothes. I have sold vintage clothing. I love secondhand clothing. And I had 6 closets. Yes, 6. I had 1 closet just for coats and jackets, and 1 closet for dresses. I have always had a lot of clothes. I would have just racks of clothes I would switch out so I could see what was always evolving. And I said, I can't bring this. There's no way I can ship this. In fact, it feels restrictive. It got to a point that all of these things felt like chains, felt like something that's keeping me from doing something more. So I remember before moving to Hawaii, I was in Jersey at the time, donating and selling, but mostly donating everything. All of these things I'd collected from around the world in vintage shops and flea markets in Italy and Paris and London and you name it, Japan. But it's just stuff. I've already worn it. Am I trying to keep it to show to others? There's really no other reason for me to hang on to these things. Honey, this was 7 years ago. This was quite a while ago. Well, 5 years. And I sold a lot. I've always sold online for several years. Poshmark, eBay, Mercari, you name it, as well as shows. I would sell vintage clothing, and I had a website where I sold vintage clothing. And I remember putting these things in bags and donating it and saying out loud, I found it once, I'll find it again. I found it once, I'll find it again. I found it once, I'll find it again. Because we will. It's not a life or death thing to donate a vintage Versace blouse that I found in Italy for €1. So what? It got to a point where it didn't matter the designer. It's still just clothing. It's just clothing. And how light I felt. How light I felt just releasing all these things. Because I'm never going to wear a cashmere coat in Maui. I'm never going to wear a cashmere blazer in Maui. I'm just not. And if I really love style and fashion, the beauty is give it to someone who will love it just as much as you did. If you love it, release it. It's doing nothing but sitting in the closet. And the beauty in that was, whoa, I feel just like I could just maneuver. Like, this is cool, okay? And building a new wardrobe. In every place, my wardrobe has to be rebuilt. Everything that I would have worn in all of those cities I mentioned doesn't really have a place in Hawaii. It's time, and I'm going to change. So I will build the wardrobe for who I am now, which mostly is cut off vintage Levi's and bikini tops and things of this nature. But it's that beauty of redesigning me. I'm different now. I'm ready to redesign me. I'm ready for something new. I'm ready. I'm ready. I'm ready. And the beauty in that, how inspired I felt. It's a pure space of just exploration of oneself. Because who you are in one location changes. If you are in New York, you probably are going to be a different person if you go to, let's say, LA or Seattle or Tokyo. Your style changes. Thank you, Alfred. I know, ain't it? I know. I tell that to my mom. Look at you. Look what you made. And she says, girl, go have a glass of water. That's it. But thank you, Alfred. And I remember when I wrote, am I driving the car I want to drive? And I wasn't driving at the time because I was in the New York metro area. And I am somewhat of a tree hugger. Most of my clothing is secondhand of some sort, either vintage designer, but there's so much. And I've always loved the thought of driving an electric vehicle. And I remember when I was living in London, the BMW i3 had debuted in 2014. And all of the research done by BMW i, which is the innovative side, the electric side of BMW. And I love German engineering. It is the pinnacle. It is the standard of engineering. I love it. Japanese and German engineering is just chef's kiss. Thank you, Miss Frankie D. And thank you for the rose. I appreciate it. Please continue to like the live. And I remember thinking, yeah, I would love this car. I want to. I would look at it in London if I saw it on the street. And then when I said, what's the car I want to drive? Because I thought about it. I'm moving to an island. I think about that. First of all, it's a smaller island, so I'm not going to be driving such as I would in California. Distances are shorter. Gas is at a premium because it has to be flown. It's gas on an island. I thought about the imprint that I would leave on the island, and I said electric's the only way. Also, being in Europe, and just within myself, I only need so much. I don't need an SUV. It's just me. I like to take my space, but I don't need to take more space. And so I said, I'm going to get the i3. I'm going to. I visualized it. I looked at it. I went to the dealership. I put the i3 as the screensaver on my phone when it was locked. So I was actually seeing it probably a year before I actually had it. And I remember saying, wow, I'm going to buy a car. I had never bought a car. The only car that I had, my parents had bought. And even then at that, I had never bought a car. Now, my father's a salesman. He had, prior to being married and my mother and my father having me, he actually had owned a car dealership. He was the first something to own a Pontiac or a GM dealership. And so I knew how to finagle buying a car. I knew what to say. I knew what to look for. I knew what to say for what I did and didn't want. And again, that feeling came up. I don't know if it was anxiousness or excitement, but it was something new. It was something new. Whoa, I'm going in to buy this car. I never bought a car. I'm buying this luxury car. Wow. I don't know. Hope, chill. It's just like any other purchase. And I remember doing all of my due diligence and knowing how much I was going to pay. And doing my research, and I saw when the car came onto the island, and I went to the dealership. It was used. The owner had a home in Hawaii as well as California. So this was his additional home in Hawaii. So the car had very few miles, very few for a car that was 4 years old. Might have had like 3,000 miles. I don't even think it had that. I think it had 1,000. It had nothing. And so I went to the dealership and I said, hey, I'm coming to look at the i3. He said, okay, let me go get the keys. I was like, wow, that's easy. And so we got into this i3 and I adjusted. What's up, Queen? What's up, Queen? Why would I say, what's up, King? How you doing, D-Way? Good to see you. And thank you for the kind message. I really appreciate that. It means a lot. Thank you. And so the guy at the dealership got the keys and we got in the car and I felt the steering wheel of this BMW i3 that I had envisioned years before. Good. I'm glad to see. I know you thriving. I know you ain't just doing well. I know you thriving, King. And seeing that full circle of I had this once as a screensaver on my phone and now I'm driving it. And I already know the exact amount I'm going to pay. I know how I'm going to finagle it. So we got in the car, because I always will whip the wood grain. You know, I got to take it back to California. I wanted to do some donuts, but I had to wait till I had signed on the dotted line. But I remember when we turned out of the dealership, I was like, because electric cars, they go. Right when you put your foot on the accelerator, they take off. And I love that. And so we did a little loop. We came back to the dealership. He said, do you like it? I said, I love it. He said, okay, then let's go run some numbers. I was like, it can't be this easy. It can't be this easy. I'm thinking I'm a woman. They're going to give me a hard time. We went in. He said, he threw out a number. And I said, no, I'll pay this with this. And he said, okay. And that was it. I was like, oh, okay. And that feeling of, whoa, you did it. You did it, Hope. Yes, you were unaware how it would happen. Yes, you did not know how to finagle this price with the car. And none of that even transpired. None of that even transpired. It was so easy. And when I drove my electric car to my home, I didn't even know how I was going to charge it. I didn't have a charger at my current home, and I didn't even know there was 3 charge points within walking distance from where I lived. I was perfectly placed. You see what I'm saying? Oftentimes what you want wants you. You just have to say yes. So I may not have had a charging location in my home, but I could drive 3 minutes, park my car, charge it, and walk home, do what I need to do, and then walk back, pick the car up. I had no idea. And sometimes that's what it is for the things that we want. You can label it a dream, you can label it a manifestation, or maybe something you've been praying about. Whatever you label it, that thing that you may not physically have now, but you know you want it and you know it's for you. I'm here to share that. Go for it. Go for it. All of that was so unfamiliar. That was the first time I was outside of my parents' home. I was in a home because I said I had always lived in apartments outside of my parents' home. I want a home. I want a yard. I want to see what that feels like. I want a washer and dryer. I've been living in flats or apartments. I want to feel that. I did not say I've always been in an apartment. I'll just go along. No. Ask for what you want and then expect for it to come. It's the same thing like my TED Talk that I'm giving in October. I knew it would come. I didn't know the exact time. I didn't know the exact way. But I knew it would come. And it was a conscious, deliberate effort within the past 3 years, but this was even years before. This is probably 10, 15 years before, where I said, wow, I would watch these speakers or watch innovators and watch them on the TED stage and say, I could do that. I want to do that. I want to see what that feels like. I want to see what the road to that feels like. I want to feel what it feels like to be on that stage and deliver those words. I want that. I don't want to just dream about it. I want to experience it. And so when I received the confirmation, it came at that perfect time. It came when actually I've known for probably 2-3 months, but the official website for this TED event just went up a few days ago. And once that went up, that's when I started sharing the information with others. And I could not sleep. I was up like this. And it was also that feeling of, whoa. Yeah. Yeah. It's never about the time. It doesn't matter how long it takes. It matters that it has happened. It doesn't matter the means that you get to it. That's within your way of seeing it. But oftentimes we label the time, oh, it hasn't happened. I want it faster. Why didn't it happen? That's not for you. The goal is for you to accomplish it. Time is how we're labeling it. But let it just be accomplished. It doesn't matter if it's 5 years, 25 years, 50 years. It's the fact that it happened. It's the fact that it happened. And I'm a testament to that. I'm a testament to that. So, what did I say? What did I say? It isn't about the time. It isn't. Because we do, listen, I'm sharing that because I've done that. You can go, I mean, the link, there's a hyperlink in my bio. It's being recorded in Karlsruhe, Germany. I don't know if it'll be streamed as well, but it is in Germany. And that was a big thing for me as well, because when I chose to step into the profession of speaking, I always said, I'm an international speaker. It's very easy for me to speak to an American audience. I am. It's a little bit more difficult to speak to audiences that aren't familiar with my background. That means I have to find certain things that are familiar within us, that I know, because Germany has it's not a second home, but I've worked a lot out of there and I've spent a lot of time there. After, I'll probably go hiking in the Alps or the Dolomites because they're just right there. My company had a based in Frankfurt. So I would fly out of Frankfurt a lot, and I've had probably hundreds, if not thousands, over those 15 years, layovers in different German cities, and the ability to relate to people who are of a different origin is a skill. Nein. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's probably the basis. I lived with 2 German speakers, so at that time I was learning and practicing, but that was years ago. However, that means a lot for my beautiful self to be on the stage there. And going back to what D-Way said, eliminate our own label of time. Because we label it in our time. It should have happened. It should be faster. Why not? I'm ready. You're not. You're ready when it happens. Sometimes there's other things that need to happen before it actually happens. Sometimes. So, to allow ourselves to expand and grow, and it is painful at times. Sometimes it's uncomfortable. I've shared on live that when I saw the lineup of speakers, of course I knew this is for me. Thank you, thank you, thank you. But I left school. I left college. I said, to heck with this. I got it here. Let me go see the world. I'm an intelligent person. I'll make it happen. Sometimes that still comes up. Sometimes it comes up. When I'm looking at all of the TED speakers and I saw the scientists and physicists and PhD and masters, but that's not me. And I said, no, it's not you. You're Hope. And you know multiple languages, and you've done this, and you've done that, and you earned this because of your words, your cadence, your skill of speaking. Do not try to pull yourself into that space of, I'm not worthy of this. I am, and so are you. Do not ever let something pull you into that space of not feeling worthy. Because you are. Because you are. And of course it comes up. It comes up in different ways for all of us. Check it. Say, oh, there it goes. Again, ooh, I'm feeling it. No, I hear you, but no, I am good enough. I hear you and I'm still going. I hear you and I feel uncomfortable and I'm still going. The fact is to continue and to complete. Not to stop. And I said that to my sister. My sisters and my niece came to visit me in Hawaii. Come on, Peso. Come on. Come here, Peso. Come here. They came to see me in Hawaii. And thank you, Alfred. They came to see me in Hawaii, and I love to hike. Every Sunday, I would be on a certain hiking trail. Yeah, Peso! It's Peso! Hi, Peso! And so I would say every Sunday, I was in my church on the mountain. Nature is my church. I would always be in church on Sunday, which is in nature. I would run or trail run or hike every Sunday. Most of the time I would hike 2 to 3. Yes. Yes, she is. And she's a, you need to watch out for her. She's a real unaliver. Let me put it that way. So they came to do this trail. And the beginning of the trail is directly an incline. And I would run it, but I'm like a beast. Like, I understand why people say, how do you do it? I'm battling against me. So my sisters get halfway and say, oh, we're turning around and going back. I said, what? Dad would take us on these trails and you never heard Dad say, we're turning around and we're going back. I said, you did not come this far to come this far. You did not come this far, fly all the way here to say, I'm going halfway and then turning around and going back. That's the same thing with anything that you're determined to complete. If that's a goal, if that's a dream, if that's school, whatever it is. You didn't come this far to say, oh, yeah, I did it halfway. Now I'm going to end. No. And that also comes from quitting things. But I will quit things. If I don't like it, I'll just quit. So there's that too. Full transparency. So when that discomfort of not feeling worthy of a space shows up, feel it, acknowledge it. It's there for a reason. It's there because it may have served you at some point. It doesn't mean that it serves you now. And to reinforce that you're worthy of that space is to even talk it into yourself. I'm worthy of this. I can occupy any space that I choose. At any time. I get to say, not someone else. I get to say. And there's the strength that comes from that. So, I will be doing another talk. I'll be back on tomorrow as I am. Thank you, Amanda. These are all just benchmarks, and they're really check-ins to see how far we have came, to see where we're going. That is a benchmark for me. And I shared that with the TED Talk. I went on Google and I advise doing this with anything you want to do. I went on Google and I just copied the TED background. So it was a black background with the TED red letters, the stage. And I superimposed a picture of me on that stage. This was about 3 years ago. And I printed that out and I put it in a 4x6 frame. And I set that frame on the left side of my bed. So every night and every morning, I would just glance and see what has actually came to pass. It's always something to work towards, if you choose. I do enjoy setting these things that seem unsurmountable. Like, how is this going to happen? I know it will happen. It's not for me to know how. It's about me believing that it will. And the power and the strength and the resilience you feel in yourself when it's completed. So with these oncoming benchmarks, Thursday, as I shared, yeah, good night. Thank you, Alfred. Oh, that's great, Alfred. What's your age? What do you mean at your age? We put too much weight on this thing called age. What's your age, Alfred? What's your age? Okay? Let's put it out there. Let me hear it. Well, I can't hear it. You can't say it, but you can type it and then you can go and enjoy your evening. 67. That's great. Okay. All right. I like that. I'm getting there. I'm getting there. The goal is to live to a healthy, flexible, alert, vibrant 115. And I've always said it. Yeah. And that can change by the day. You're only as old as you feel. I don't even know if there's an age that I feel, because I don't really feel my age. That's right. I'm a fine vintage. However, the benchmarks, and Thursday, I will be going live when I'm at the TikTok headquarters. 104.5. That's good too, Amanda. I'll be right there with you. I tell this to my sisters because I say I'm going to outlive all of y'all. You better be nice. Is that what you meant? 104.5? When I go live in the TikTok headquarters on Thursday, that is another benchmark. That's another benchmark. And this is for us to all see and celebrate, and for you to set your goal for whatever it is. There you do. There you go. Thank you. Yes, and that's exactly what I will be doing. Waking up feeling good. But I remember the first time I went live. And I remember, thank you, feeling that discomfort or seeing no one there, or like, what am I going to talk about? And now I will actually be in the building just because I continued to show up. And I say that at all of my lives. Show up. Show up. Show up. It's in LA. Yeah, it's in LA. So I'll actually be in LA Thursday and Friday. And showing even everyone in the live, it's incremental steps. It's every day. Sometimes I'm not on live. I did take like a break, maybe 10 days, and people were like, whoa, where are you? Where are you? And that felt good to see that people are saying, where are you? I was looking forward to hearing your words of inspiration. But it's that consistency of showing up. So I don't know what it is that you wish to accomplish. I know it is for you to accomplish when you choose to show up. When you choose to show up. What's up, Ruben? Okay, I'll see you listen, you'll see me shining. I'll be there shining. So, and if I'm in a beach and in California, it's really just to look beautiful, because now when I go back home, the water in California is just frigid. It's way too cold. So I do close all my lives with these words. And again, I'll go live again tomorrow, Thursday and Friday. Thursday, I will be at the TikTok headquarters, and I'm excited. And it's another benchmark, and I enjoy Mag and Ruben, and there's Amanda, and all sorts of hopefuls that show up every time I go live and give great feedback and uplifting messages and laughter. It's about that family and about the positivity that we bring. So, as always, show up. Thank you. Hey, go back to your mama. Go back to your mama. Yeah, I noticed that. Thank you. I appreciate that. That's what's going to be in the... Thank you, Alfred. I appreciate that too. I appreciate that. All of these messages I screenshot them, and whenever I say, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? I have to remind myself there's a reason why. And be the reflection of love, because we all come from infinite sources of love. Thank you. Very real. Yes, I share all sorts of stories about some of the real situations that I've been in. I love you too, Amanda. I love you too. I appreciate you. Yeah, we all come from infinite sources of love. Show up. That was the message today, to show up. Just show up. The rest will be done. But you have to show up. That's all you have to do is show up. Thank you, Kelly. Thank you. And when you show up, make it look good. Listen, yesterday we talked about the pajama epidemic and sweats. Make it look good. Like how I tell you, I go on my sexy walks. Let's make it look sexy. Let's make it look spectacular. Let's allow it to glow. When you show up, make it look good. And just know what's for you will never miss you. We often misjudge the time that it takes, but when it's for you, it will never miss you. And I saw some creator also say, when it's for you, you can never mess it up, but when it's not for you, you can never fix it. So that's the lasting word. I love you all. Continue to shine, drink some water, and I am going to make pescado tacos because it is Taco Tuesday. It is Taco Tuesday. What are you doing? It's Taco Tuesday. My niece let me know, yes, it is Taco Tuesday, but everyone knows that it's Burrito Wednesday. I had no idea, but my niece Sky let me know that. Thank you. I love you too, Maverick. Wednesday is Burrito Wednesday. Yes, I've already made my salsa. My fish is marinating. I've made my black beans. I'm making some cilantro lime rice. Maybe tomorrow I'll do another cooking TikTok because I make everything. And now it's time to deep fry the fish for some pescado tacos. And I made some vegan chipotle mayo to top it off. So that's what's up. I love you all. I'm going to eat. So bye until tomorrow.